few of you guys here now. We'd love to know what you would like to talk about in the future. What are you grappling with that somebody else might be able to help you with?
Well,
Feel free to put in the chat also.
Go ahead, Karen. Yeah,
go ahead,
put it in
Karen.
chat.
Internal communications are not really a problem for our organization. We have several ways of communicating with our members, and it doesn't really seem to be that big of an issue. External communications, getting our small giving circle to maybe have a larger profile in the community is a goal of ours. But it's not something that we've devoted a lot of time or energy to, but I think we're going to start.
Mhm.
And so one of the things I think we're going to try to do is create some kind of a large list of people and organizations that we work with that might be interested in what we do, and regularly be more diligent about sending out kind of updates on what Giving Together is doing. So do other organizations do that regularly? Do other giving circles do that regularly? And in order to create a higher profile in the community, which could eventually end up bringing more members into your organization?
So Karen, do you mean in addition, for example, to a newsletter?
We don't do a newsletter. In
Oh.
other words, we have a website. We did a newsletter at one time for members. We stopped doing that when we upgraded our website. And so we don't do a newsletter anymore. But we do communicate with our members fine. I mean, we have regular communications for all the different things that we do with our members. It's external communications, tooting our horn in the community. We don't do a good job of that.
Well,
And
what
so
I was
we don't
doing-
really have a regular program for getting, information out about what Giving Together is doing.
Well, what we do is we have a list for our members, but we also have a list of everyone who's ever come to any of our functions.
Mhm.
And these are community members, community leaders, grantees, et cetera. And we have about almost 2,000 on our list now.
Wow.
And we send a newsletter. We send 5 a year. And I'm thinking we may want to send maybe 6 a year. And it goes to everyone. And we are now looking at our website analytics to see how successful we are with the newsletter driving people to our website, because that's what we're spending a lot of time on. So anyway, that's just one idea. And I just want to say, I'm going to not make you all responsible for watching me eat lunch on video. I am actually at my son's house taking care of my 3-year-old grandson while my son and his wife are in Florida meeting a new baby they hope to adopt. And my schedule is sort of weird. I didn't even have breakfast this morning. It's a preschool now, and I really need to eat. And you don't need to watch me, but I will be paying attention.
Okay.
Good. All
Can
right.
I
Thanks,
ask you-
Linda. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Linda, can I ask you a follow-up question? You're still listening to us, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The newsletter that you produce, is that produced by a volunteer group in
Marketing communications.
so you have a marketing communications committee,
Yeah.
and
Well,
one of the things they do is write this newsletter.
yes. So
Okay.
what our typical content is to highlight 1 or 2 of our grantees
Mhm.
every newsletter. We have a leadership letter from the president and vice president. We welcome all our new members since the last newsletter.
Mhm.
We do a short overview of our programs and then link to the website, because we don't want, to have something long. And this is our 15th anniversary year. So we've had a good bit in it that has to do with what we're doing this year. So yeah, we produce it. We ask for content. We're going to have an article this November, December, about the changes to our grants process. So we try to highlight both internal and external events that the Giving Circle is responsible for. I'm
All
happy
right.
to talk
I'm
to
gonna-
you, Karen.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop this topic just for a little bit, because this is exactly what we like to do to get everybody involved in having a conversation about what the needs are. But let me start us back off on the topic today and weave back into your issue, Karen, and anybody else's related to how you communicate, which is part of the whole giving strategy. So good morning or good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Philanos Comms Club. My co-captain, Buffy, and I are thrilled that you're here. I'm wondering though, before we start, can you guys raise your hand? Who is new? Who's on their first call with us? Now I've just lost our whole. Great. Okay. Well, welcome. Glad to have you, Amy.
And Leanna.
Oh, great. Okay. So today we're talking about year-end giving strategies, including Giving Tuesday. And we do have a small group, so we really do encourage what we've just been doing, which is having a question and a lot of conversation. So just raise your hand, put your question in the chat and we'll get to you. But it's all about what you want to hear about. So we want to know, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, for those of you who were on the call then, we need to know what you want to hear about so we can make these efficient and good for you next in the future. So put in the chat topics you're wanting to hear about or things you're struggling with, and we'll be sure to cover those things, because we're here to help you share, and we're just the sort of the conduit. So we're here to help everybody get their questions answered and get some resources. Okay, here we go on today's topic. And Buffy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, great. And Nancy, if you want to move the slide.
It's not cooperating.
Great. Well, as you all saw when we were promoting this month's Comms Club, we were thinking it could be good to kind of have a group, a full group casual conversation about what are we all thinking or doing about holiday giving opportunities. And that includes all sorts of holidays. We're thinking immediately holidays leading up to the new year, which would include opportunities like Giving Tuesday, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and others. But also we'll even talk about, opportunities for giving beyond that. Is everyone thinking about getting involved in Giving Tuesday? And if so, what are some ideas that we can share with one another, and then kind of talk about it beyond that? So I guess our first question would be, has everyone heard of Giving Tuesday? Maybe we'll start there. Okay, so seems like if I can see all of your images correctly.
Thumbs up.
Okay, good. And you can see here kind of the quick overview that it started almost 10 years ago. And this year, it's usually right after Thanksgiving. This year, it's on November 30th. And Nancy, if you want to move the next slide, that'd be great. But we were thinking we could talk about, why is it an opportunity for all of us, different giving circles of various sizes, focusing on different things. So we wanted to have a conversation, is it an opportunity to kick off year-end giving for all of us? Maybe we can bring our donors together. We're planning on bringing donors together for a specific giving event. You can see what we have up here. At the very least, an opportunity to publicize either our own giving circles and the work we're doing, or some of our nonprofit partners. It's an opportunity to think through, Karen, like you were talking about, how do you go beyond your current members to any prospective members in the community? Or maybe there's something that any of our circles are specifically fundraising for, whether it's for our core support, our administration, or our endowment, or an emergency fund, or maybe there's some other idea. So we thought we'd start off there. and see what you're all either thinking, have questions about, or what you're doing.
Hey everyone, I'm Leanna Humphreys. Nice to meet you all. I'm with the Women's Impact Fund in Charlotte, and our focus, Giving Tuesday, is the same time as we have a big drive around our annual fund. So that's really kind of what we push with Giving Tuesday, is making those additional gifts to our annual fund, which helps support our operations.
That's great. Do you do that every year?
We do, yeah. The annual fund push is usually, I mean, we just are finalizing the mailer right now, so it's really kind of end of year. We still talk about the annual fund in the beginning of the new year, because depending on people's personal situations, sometimes they're really motivated by the end of the tax year. Sometimes they're waiting for like a bonus to come in the first quarter. And so, but that's really when we really push the annual fund.
And have you found that you have members who are actually giving on Giving Tuesday? They respond to that kickoff for you?
Yeah, some do. I wouldn't say that it's the biggest way that we get donations to the annual fund, but it's, you know, some people are motivated by all the chatter on social media around Giving Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's great. That's exactly what we were thinking, kind of kicking off the holiday season in one form or another with potentially with Giving Tuesday.
Good morning, ladies. I'm Amy Larson. I'm with Impact Giving in Orange County, California. And we traditionally do a year-end campaign. As Leanna just said, we're gearing up for that. Last year, we just did it online. This year, we're going back to snail mail as well as an online presence for that. We have linked with Giving Tuesday the last few years. Not to great success specific to the Giving Tuesday. This year, we're trying something different. We're having a link and a QR code in our online presence and through our letter, our year-end letter, to link to just the day of November 30th, kind of a push. And we're trying to make it fun. We're doing a little bingo game with it to try to make it a little more interactive. So we'll see how that turns out. This year, we're changing our year-end campaign to focus on support to Impact Giving admin, operational support, whereas in the past, our donors could option to donate to our grant finalists or to support Impact Giving itself. So it'll be interesting to see if we have the response changes this year when we're saying, hey, we need help just to keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have specific language that you've carved out about supporting your course, your core support?
We're calling the campaign this year, Buffy, Sustain the Impact.
Oh, that's great.
Talking about how in order to continue to do the great work we're doing, sometimes we're at the very bottom of the list where we're putting all of our funding to our nonprofit community. So we'll see if that resonates with our, we call our partners, not members. So we'll see how that resonates with our partners.
I love that, sustain the impact. That's great.
Thank you.
Another tact you might take with, and you'd probably do this in your letter, not a social media place, but when we upped our admin fee, one of the background reasons we gave was that we're always asking our nonprofits to show us in the process that they are spending their money wisely or they have a good financial plan. And for us to ask of that and not do it ourselves seems disingenuous.
Well, that's a great idea. Yeah.
We use terminology core support.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Susan. I was going to say, I love hearing how everyone describes administrative costs or fundraising for administration. So we say core support, but I could see using a tagline, something like sustain the impact. Sorry, Susan, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Benford. I'm a board member at the Philanthropy Connection in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and the chair of Philanos, and I recognize so many of you. I have a question, and this is an objection I've heard about Giving Tuesday. that when a giving group is asking for money for its core mission support or admin expenses, it is taking away potential money from its nonprofits so that it puts the affiliate in the position of competing for its members' dollars for the affiliate versus for grantees, past and present.
I haven't thought about that. I think if there's a limitation on the pool of money, that could be, there's some effect of that. But I think it's like anything else, that the percentage that goes for admin is so small compared to what you put out in a grant, that if we weren't here, we didn't have core support, they wouldn't be getting grants from us at all. And so to me, it's a way of saying it's just structural. It's in order to do the granting, we need help.
That's a good way to frame it. Thanks.
We've actually also wrestled with that question a little bit, Susan. And I think we sort of come down where Virginia is on it, that we're probably not taking money away from our grantees. On Facebook, we highlight our grantees all the time, particularly when they are having fundraisers, when they're having galas, when they themselves are trying to raise money. And so we make sure that we give them that publicity. But one of the things that we're doing, again, because it's our 15th anniversary year, we're going to send an email and hopefully make it kind of fun and light, which is actually a year-end appeal for a number of ways to support our giving circle. So to the grants fund, to the endowment, lifetime membership, we have business sponsors. We started this 2-3 years ago, and that money goes directly into our expense account. So we try to say there are a number of ways, depending on your inclination and your resources, to support our giving circle. And actually, one of the final ways is to like us on Facebook and spread the word, and bring in each member bring in a new member. So it's not just money, but it is sort of building our recognition in the community and expanding our membership.
Great.
Karen?
Well, for Giving Tuesday, we're just, we've during COVID, we've had some fundraisers. We've raised money for some of our grantees who are food centric, their food distribution is their main focus. And also we've raised money for, my giving circle is in the greater Washington, D.C. area, Giving Together. So we've raised money for our Greater Washington Community Foundation's COVID Response Fund. So we've had some successful fundraisers in the last year and a half among members and other people who are on our list who have attended events and things like that. For Giving Tuesday, because we have raised money on our own over the last year and a half, we're not organizing any giving, and we're not collecting money for ourselves, but we are going to be publicizing Giving Tuesday to our members and urging them to give money to our grantee organizations. And we're going to put out a notice where we have all the website addresses of all of our grantees. But at the end of the year, we usually have an appeal. And the appeal goes out to our members and other people who've given us money in the past but the money goes to what we call our emergency fund, which is a special fund outside of our grants fund, outside of our administrative fund, where we raise money throughout the year for individual people who are in crisis, who are identified by frontline organizations. So we actually give money to our community foundation. They have a program called Neighbors in Need. They give grants to frontline organizations that identify people who can't pay their rent, who can't pay a medical bill. And the money that we raise for our emergency fund goes to that. So our end of the year fundraiser is for that. It's for the emergency fund. It is not for our grants fund.
And have you done that for several years?
Yes, we've done it almost since Giving Together is about 11 years old, and we've done it probably for 9 of those 11 years. So, and we have other fundraising activities throughout the year, or if someone sends us like something in honor of a member who's having a birthday, an anniversary, whatever, that money also goes into our emergency fund.
That's great. So your members know to expect it, essentially.
Yeah, those who've been members for a while, you know, they know that they're going to get a letter at the end of the year. And we just say, you know, we know you're considering end of the year giving, because all of our members are, you know, are probably looking at that. We say, just don't forget the Giving Together emergency fund.
That's great. Well, we have, Nancy, if you want to pull up the slides, we are providing links both to ideas about how we can all be considering Giving Tuesday. You know, there's obviously lots of ideas that we're talking about today, but there's some other good ones in there for nonprofits. And then if you haven't seen this, they have a great website, but there's also a link to the different tools they have, or a toolkit for nonprofits. So there's lots of images, logos, things like that, that we can all take and use on our own social media and other marketing communications if we're going to be using Giving Tuesday in one form or another. So if you hadn't seen it, we just wanted to make sure you knew that that was there. And then we thought, Maggie, if you want to go through, Nancy, if you can switch to the next slide, Maggie, talk a little bit about how your Giving Circle is utilizing these tools. So taking some of the images, personalizing it for Greenville Women's Giving, and then how you're working with Giving Tuesday.
Yes, Greenville Women Giving in Greenville, South Carolina has done this for the last couple of years, has promoted Giving Tuesday on Facebook and their other social media. And someone else mentioned sending people to give to your grantees, and that's exactly how they've done it. So they've just taken these images that are on the Giving Tuesday site, and then they link it to our list of impact on the website, which are all the grants we've given. And I believe it's probably 86 nonprofits now over the last 16 years in Greenville County. So, so our members can give to that nonprofit on that day that they feel closest to, because we grant in 5 areas and everybody sort of has their favorites. So this is a day where we really push it out for the grantees.
I love that, Maggie. I think that's what we'd like to do this year is make sure, and it's easy to do, to link to your website and their website. So that's a great idea.
And Nancy, if you could move to the next slide, that's what my Giving Circle, the Women's Giving Circle of Howard County, Maryland, has been doing also. So this is an example of taking one of their images from last May. Actually, Giving Tuesday did a special global day of giving last May because of the pandemic. And so we took one of their images, added our logo, added our website, and then we raised funds for one of our nonprofit partners. And that's what we're planning on doing this Giving Tuesday as well. I do think it's a meaningful way to not only support partners, but take part in Giving Tuesday. It's a good promotion for our circle.
You froze up on us, Buffy. Maggie, how long have you been doing this at Greenville?
I believe they've only done it for the past 2 years because, like many other places, we didn't really get our social media kicked into gear until 2 or 3 years ago. And I wish we would have started sooner, but certainly it's a very engaging way to get members involved, in Instagram as well. It seems they love these images on Instagram and respond to them.
And do you have a way of seeing who, what the impact has been? Do those nonprofits tell you what's come from your member? Probably they don't, but I mean, that would be a really interesting way of being able to quantify that.
It would be. It would be.
Yeah,
And
that was my question. Like, are you able to track giving to those nonprofits?
no, I don't think so. It would be nice to know if there's a way to do that. But since you're going asynchronously to our website and then perhaps to another website and giving there, I think it would be very difficult.
Maggie, I think you could actually embed a small line of code into your link that goes from your website to the nonprofit's website that your members donating to. And so you need to get the cooperation from the nonprofit to say, would you please send us the URLs of everybody who donated, and you could pick them out.
Okay.
We're able to do it because we set up a separate giving campaign for it. So we know exactly how many people gave through our request and then we send a check to the nonprofit partner.
Got it. So they're giving really to you, and then you're passing those donations along. Okay.
Right. And when we do it through something called our Emergency Response Network. And we promote that every penny that comes in goes directly to the nonprofit. We don't take anything out of it. So for example, with this, I don't remember what it was, but we usually ask for at least $1,000. And I think we usually get well over that in gifts that we send directly to them. So this is just one example, but we thought, Nancy, if you could pull up the slides for other holiday giving ideas. We obviously have talked about the end of year appeal, holiday gift campaigns for nonprofit partners. There's a matching gift opportunity. I don't know. Does anyone have success with matching gifts, promoting matching gifts as an option? That's great.
We do. We actually, Bucky, we go to our local NPR station and snag its list of all the companies which match to NPR, and then just use those names and send it out to our members.
Oh, that's great.
We probably, with Philanthropy Connection, last time I knew, probably got 15,000 a year in matching gifts.
Wow. That could probably be a whole hour-long conversation on its own. How do you set up a matching gift opportunity? What are some companies, or how do you find them, like taking them from NPR? What's the language that you use? How successful has it been? Maybe that we should put that on our list if everyone would.
There you go, Susan. You're our speaker.
I don't think so.
That's really
good idea. Anybody else do matching gifts?
Yeah, I think one of the big things is to make sure you prompt them in the donation process to indicate, to think about the fact, do I have access to a matching gift fund, and indicate who the employer is so that you can kind of then track those down. I think that's the biggest lesson we've learned.
great.
There is also, and I'm blanking on the name of this, but there is also a donor advised fund button that if you embed it on your website and with one click on it, it takes you directly to portals like Fidelity, for example, that allow you to access your DAF in 2 clicks.
nice.
It's really nifty. I will dig up the name of that. The people I know who've used it report great success with it.
That's great.
In case you're not all looking at the chat, Linda shared that they just created a blog post about matching gifts and sent the link. It'd be good for all of us to take a look at if you're interested. Well, we thought we'd also talk about, while it's holiday giving ideas, potentially some other ways to be thinking about giving in the holidays. So Nancy, if you want to move to the next slide. One of the things that we do at our giving circle is have a section that we promote called In Her Honor. And so members or others can donate to the Women's Giving Circle, either in honor or in memory of someone. And so we promote this and market it, and we promote it for certain holidays. So we're going to be promoting it now for the end of the year for, a Christmas gift, Hanukkah gift, whatever it might be, a holiday gift for women or girls in your life. But we do it throughout the year. We do it for Valentine's Day, graduation, Mother's Day, things along those lines. And we thought, does anyone else do this sort of giving opportunity in her honor and whatever it might be called? Or have any ideas surrounding it?
We don't do a special campaign, but again, that's one of the options when people are donating.
Okay.
That indicate it's in memory of, in honor of someone.
Okay.
We do it, but we don't do it nearly as well. So I don't think we publicize it anywhere near as much as we should. So this is great. I really appreciate this.
It's funny, we all do these things, we have them on our website, but until you hear someone else mention it, you're like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. We really should be marketing them more, what have you. And I think that's what happened with us. We heard someone else talk about it and realized we should be doing more. And so we did make it an actual kind of concerted effort to promote it throughout the year at various times and for various, holidays or opportunities. And Nancy, if you can move to the next slide, I'll show you when.
Bobby, could I ask you one thing before you move
sure.
off that slide, or before Nancy does? I was interested in whether you think listing various categories in terms of amount is a good strategy. You must, or you wouldn't have it there. Does that seem to up the amount that people typically give, or do you have any data on that?
We don't have any data. I'm sure there's data out there. This is a pretty unscientific way that we are presenting opportunities for women to give, but we wanted to at least show that you could give anywhere, from 10 to 5,000 or your own custom amount, whatever is meaningful for you, so that it wasn't like, there was a wide variety of options for women across the board, and really trying to present that any amount is really valued. And
that does it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you accomplished that. I was just curious because we typically just have a line. We have once recurring. I don't think we include monthly, quarterly,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have suggested amounts, but we might want to think about that because it does convey that nothing is too small, nothing is too large. And I like that. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
There is a lot of research on, like in the fundraising world, on arrays and how to present them, the order going from smallest to largest, largest to smallest, what to put as your anchor array in the middle versus on the end. So there's a whole body of research around that if you want to go down that rabbit hole.
Probably not.
What have you found? What's the best advice you can give us based on your research?
Well, the other thing too is that, and this is less in my Women's Impact Fund role, but in other nonprofit roles that I've had, is there's a difference, understanding the differences in how people give online versus via mail, through direct mail. And so we had a different strategy for online versus direct mail. There's even research that shows you might want a different strategy for one-time gifts versus monthly gifts, because generally people give a smaller amount for a monthly gift. I mean, I think these arrays are so wide that you're kind of meeting all of those needs. But if you want to get really targeted and steer people towards certain amounts, then you can get very scientific about it.
Sounds like another hour-long topic of conversation.
Yeah.
That's really good.
You want to go down that rabbit hole.
I've recently read some research, Leanna, which shows that a donor will cumulatively or on an annualized basis give more in per monthly gifts than in a singular one-time gift.
That's, I think that's correct.
And especially, it's such a great tool for getting younger people to donate. They're so used to paying for so much of life in monthly increments.
It's really sticky too. So the retention is a lot higher with recurring gifts than with one-time gifts. We offer that. So in the Women's Impact Fund, we offer that option for people, both for their annual dues, but also for the annual fund, which is a, sort of an extra gift that some people can choose to make. It's not a requirement for membership to make a gift to the annual fund. And that's been really popular, just that ability to spread their dues out throughout the year. I'm sure many of you do that as well, but that is really growing in popularity.
I have an interesting little story I just want to inject here. My husband also runs a nonprofit, and his director of development analyzed 4 years of data around what happened to the nonprofit's giving when a board member made a donation that was publicized in their newsletter and social media and so on. And the data was overwhelming that after this gift was publicized, they got lapsed donors back in to the giving pool. I thought that was fascinating.
I feel that's good to hear, because for a long time, we used to publicize our donors on a yearly basis. Then we didn't do anything for a while. And now we're doing it on a monthly basis in our newsletter, thanking our donors over and over again and putting it on our website. And I feel like people don't need to be, a ton of bells and whistles about their giving, but I do think they appreciate being recognized. And I also think that it's modeling for others, like you're saying, if a friend sees another friend gave, or, whatever it might be, that it's a great opportunity kind of across the board. That's good to hear.
I agree.
So Buffy, it's not the amount, it's just the name, the person.
Right. Correct.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, when you do the monthly donations for whatever, is that becoming like it's automatic? It just happens and they don't have to do anything?
Correct. Yep. We do, the Philanthropy Connection does its dues that way as well. Members can pay monthly if they choose.
And if you do that, is that also true the next year? Does it just keep, just like the NPR, does it, if you're a sustaining member, it just goes on and on and on
Correct.
until they stop it?
Or the credit card expires, one or the other.
Oh, that too. Okay. That would be a whole lot less painful.
Yeah. If you can pull the next slide up, if you don't mind. One of the things that we do with In Her Honor when someone gives is we have an image that, talks about what the gift has been for, and that goes out to the person who the gift is in their honor, or to the family in their memory. And then we also publicize that someone gave, for a work anniversary or in honor of a birthday or whatever it might be. Birthdays, we get a number of gifts in honor of someone else's birthday. And so this is what goes out to them. And then, like I said, we publicize it in our newsletter and on our website, hopefully modeling, giving people ideas, whatever it might be. And then Nancy, if you can move to the next slide, please.
Buffy, I just wanted to say, I love that. It's really important, I think, to thank people, because you're really thanking both the donor and the honoree, or the person who's deceased. And it's just it's very attractive and lovely.
Well, thank you. And if you can see, that first one is from a woman named Gail Siegel at she and her husband's law firm, Siegel Law. And a few years ago, she said, I want to give to the Giving Circle, but I want to give in a way that helps my company and supports other women. And so we said, well, why don't you give in the women in your office in their honor for work anniversary? She's like, I love that. So now, she might do 3 in 1 month, then we don't hear from her for a couple months, but she gives to the women all the women working in her law firm on their work anniversary, gives a gift in their honor. And so that was a way that helped from her kind of company perspective as well. So you're right. It's a win-win for all.
I'd like to say too, that we're part of a community foundation, and our community foundation, when they put out their annual report, which is a beautiful, piece that is glossy and done, they always list all 500 plus members of Greenville Women Giving. And that's not only good on for us, it's good on for them. I mean, They also have all their levels of their original givers, but they always make a big splash about Greenville Women Giving. So not only are they doing that cross promotion, but they're also, reaping possible community foundation donors for decades to come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nancy, on the next slide, if you don't mind moving it, this was just a quick piece of information for how a family of one of our members reached out to us after she sadly passed away. She was part of our circle and not only wanted gifts to go to the Women's Giving Circle in her memory, but, we said, well, we're here in whatever way we can be supportive. And they said, well, why don't, we decided we'd make a page on our website under our giving section for Jackie. So people could give in her honor. And it was amazing how many people did and continue to give. And even though this happened earlier in the year, people think about end of year giving in honor and memory of people. And so this was another way we were kind of thinking about in someone's honor or in their memory. That could be an idea for others when you're working with families of women in your community. And then the next slide, we're just throwing out suggestions for all of us to talk about, but this is an example. We have our 20th anniversary year coming up in 2022. And we have a full development plan and to raise $200,000. And one of the options is we are hoping to encourage 20 women in 2022 to each raise $200 through a Facebook fundraiser. So of all the ways we're fundraising, this is just one of the small ways, but we wanted to give it an example of this was for a particular birthday fundraiser. We've had other women raise money for the Women's Giving Circle for their birthdays or for other things. But we developed a whole set of instructions on how to do it. We came up with a couple banners that they can use. But we're hoping women will raise at least $200 in honor of our 20th anniversary. And I just recently did one for my birthday, but it's amazing when you put it out there. I recently turned 55, so I was trying to raise $550, but friends and family are excited when you are inviting them to give. So we ended up raising almost $2,000, but that's just a way you can think about inviting, some of your members to think about raising money for the circle just through Facebook. They don't take any fees. Of all the things that Facebook doesn't do well, this is one of the things that they do well and are supportive of the nonprofit community. So whether this is for the end of the holiday season in one form or another, or for birthdays or anything throughout the year, this is how we're starting to see Giving Circles raising money. So we thought that we would give this as an example. Has anyone done that, or any of your members tried to raise money for the circle through Facebook fundraisers? Okay.
Not yet.
Well, we're hoping to raise 4,000 next year, so I'll let you know how that goes.
And Buffy, I'm curious, your 200,000 you would like to raise, where does that go? We have an 80-20 split. And so it's 80% are going toward grants, 20 toward our core support. And then we have a separate, unless someone designates it to our endowment, which is another, we don't pull for the endowment anymore, though. We did for 20 years. We don't anymore as of this year. Is that because it's well funded?
Yes, we are at 1.3 million. So we thought we would just let that go. But we do have 4 ways people can give, one of which is a legacy member, and that is directly to the endowment. So we're doing a marketing campaign for our 20th anniversary year next year. We have 4 legacy donors, and we're going to be having them talk about why they decided to designate the Women's Giving Circle in their will or in their planned gift. So, but we don't pull for that anymore. And so I think, Nancy, the last slide here was just an example of the prepackaged, one of the prepackaged banners that if we're going to encourage, we're going to have a whole toolkit for, again, hopefully 20 women, we'll see, who are going to try to raise money for the Women's Giving Circle for our 20th anniversary year. So this will go on the Facebook banner. You can quickly upload it. And that's another viral marketing opportunity. Even if people don't give on Facebook, they'll get to see the Women's Giving Circle, and then it's our 20th anniversary year and that sort of thing. So that's just one quick example. Again, we're doing it for our 20th anniversary, but you could do it for, the holiday season, whatever it might be. And then I think the last idea we wanted to throw, I guess that was the last idea we wanted to throw out there, but see what all of you are doing and beyond kind of traditional end of year appeals or whatever it might be, what are some other ideas that you're thinking about, whether it's Giving Tuesday or what are some interesting vehicles you're using, like a Facebook fundraiser?
Hi, it's Amy with Impact Giving again. Last spring, we actually do 2 major fundraising events. The first we just had last month, which is our new grant kickoff season lunch. And then we have our awards event, usually in June. So last June, of course, it was a virtual event, but we actually paid the husband of one of our partners to put together a video. It turned out to be a 10-minute video, so it was much longer than we had hoped, but it was on the power of partnership. And we interviewed 4 different partners talking about their experience, primarily as a marketing and engagement tool to hopefully bring on some new partners. And it's been such a great tool for us. It turned out to be a beautiful video, first of all. So it's on our website, and we're launching kind of a social media campaign, if you will, specific to growing our partnership, where we're actually just using some clips from that video. So it was a $5,000 expense for us, which at the time we're like, ooh, that's a lot of money. But, it's turned out to be a really great marketing tool, and we're trying to kind of leverage and launch our, I think it was Maggie said, we've not been really great in our social media presence yet. So we're kind of just starting this as the tip of the iceberg, if you will.
That's great. Are you able to share the link to the video?
I don't, I'm not the best on the Zoom links, but I can, if I can send it on to, who should I send it on to?
Anybody? Yes.
Anybody? Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to share that with you.
Okay, great.
That'd be great. Yes. I'm curious, does anyone have, if you have multiple things that or opportunities for raising funds, is one by far your biggest success? Not talking about dues, but is there one that works the best for you so far?
The most successful we have had thus far was during COVID, when we had our events virtually, when they were Zoom events. We did a Raise the Paddle for all of our grant finalists. So they were the ones that made it to the final cut, but were not actually getting a grant that year. And last year we brought in $30,000.
Wow.
And I was just shocked. I was really nervous about the whole Zoom Raise the Paddle thing. And we had some partners kind of doing cheerleading for each level and thanking everyone online. And it just everybody got really excited. And I was just so thrilled that at the bottom line.
So
Wow.
Amy, did you do that on Facebook? How did
We
you
did it on Zoom.
you did it
It
on
was
Zoom.
it was our grant awards evening.
Oh, okay.
So rather than being in person, obviously we were on Zoom. And
Right.
when we had the in-person event, we would have an auctioneer on stage, doing the
Right.
Raise the Paddle. So I was nervous about how that would translate to a Zoom event.
Mhm.
So I was just very pleased that we brought in $30,000 within like 10 minutes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Can I ask you a couple of questions? How large is your giving circle and how many people were on that Zoom event?
We have about 120 partners that fluctuates up and down, but and let me remember how many people were on the Zoom event. So I think it was an hour-long event. And as I recall, we had like 140, 150 people. Well, like any Zoom event, people were, came in and dropped in and out.
So this went beyond your membership.
It did. So we extend the invite to our nonprofit circle, some of our grantees, community supporters, that kind of thing. We're not affiliated with a community foundation or anything like that. So it's primarily our partnership. And we did a little push to have all of our partners invite friends and family. So they had a couple watch parties at different people's homes to introduce some new women to impact giving. So it broadened our market quite a bit.
Because one of the things that makes me nervous about things like that, we have about 76 members. We tend to think of ourselves as a very egalitarian organization. We don't have, different dues levels, everybody makes the same contribution every year. And while we do get occasionally large donations from our members, it's, strictly voluntary. It's not a public thing. And in a public setting, I just wonder if it would make some of our members very uncomfortable that other people publicly are donating a lot of money and they can't do that. And so it just makes me a little nervous to contemplate.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. Most of these donations that were made on the Zoom call were there was no major gift done on Zoom.
What would you consider to be a major gift?
Well, like $10,000.
But did people donate 2,000 or 3,000?
No, I think the largest level was 1,000.
Oh, that's not bad.
But I do understand what you're saying. And I think that is one of the downsides of having a public, if they want to give anonymously, they have to do it a different way.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You could perhaps do that, particularly if you do more Zoom calls, because you could have some kind of, direct, instead of doing a chat public, it's a chat to one person. And that individual gift does get gets recognized by whoever, the auditor or whoever is taking that information in. So it just keeps, and then maybe there's a calculator that just keeps showing how the money goes up, because you can't keep up with that. And that would raise some interest.
That sounds fabulous. Yeah.
That's a great idea, Virginia.
Keep going, great ideas. What else have we got?
Oh my goodness,
7 minutes.
Man kissing Chloe's head.
No, I know. Chloe, we do live through you. Yes. Who does love to know more on this? We also really would love to know, what do you want to hear about again? We're going to have another event in February, early February. So we need to know what you want to hear about.
One of the challenges, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead,
Anybody
Amy.
else want to go?
Go ahead.
One of the challenges we have is reaching out. We're trying to build our community profile. We're still kind of a well-kept secret in Orange County. So we're trying to expand within the corporate, get business leaders that are into corporate social responsibility, become more well-known to those organizations. Not only for our profile, but also to gain more corporate sponsorship of our annual awards event. So I'd love ideas about that.
Can you identify the women that are in your organization that are attached to those organizations, those corporations?
Well, one of our challenges is a lot of our partners are retired or no longer in the corporate market. We're trying to gain a younger, diversify our partnership by age and ethnicity as well. Right now, we're kind of known as to an outsider looking in. It's like, it's all those rich white women from Laguna. which is not the case at all. I'm not rich and I don't live in Laguna, but we are primarily white women, so we're really working on how we diversify, and part of that is the profile of Orange County. So we want to expand into more Latino, Asian, Black communities. So the corporate outreach would be part of that diversification as well.
Amy, let's see, I hope you saw in your news feed this week that Philanos made the decision not to hold a network-wide in-person conference.
Yes, I did see that.
Okay, we're in the throes of figuring out what Plan B will look like. And one of the topics, of course, is financial sustainability always comes up. There is an affiliate whose name is escaping me right now, who has an annual lunch. And the tickets are $135 each. And it is, I can get you the name, but it is so popular and draws so many people. It's between 1,800 and 2,000 people attend.
Wow.
That they pull in, this is going to be in our virtual conference that we're working on right now, but they pull in $200,000 in corporate sponsorships because this lunch has become such a community event that all the corporations want to be there.
So the corporations are sponsoring it, Susan?
They are, well, they're yes. The corporations are sponsoring it. It's a lot of work to have a luncheon for that many people.
Yeah.
But I think we'd all do a lot of work for $200,000 in corporate sponsorship.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to get the link with that, what affiliate that is.
Will
Thank
do.
you.
And the larger it gets, sort of takes on a life of its own. You know, people don't want to not be there at some point.
Right.
We have, I mentioned earlier that 3 years ago, we began business sponsorships at a $5,000, $2,500, and $1,000 levels. And we have typically had about 6 or 7 each year. They have tended to be the employers of our members.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. But we give them a lot of publicity. And particularly, this year they've gotten even more because they're at the beginning and the end of all of our presentations. And we not only have slides, we talk about them, et cetera. And we're meeting next week to try to build on this for 2022. If the amounts are relatively small, it doesn't add up to that much money. I think the most we've had any year for our expense fund was $8,000. But $8,000 is $8,000, and one employer will tell another, say, a financial services firm will work with their attorneys and say, hey, you guys ought to do this. This is 250 women who have some means, and so there's a reciprocal value. But it's sort of hard work, particularly last year when a number of companies were struggling, and so we were pretty laid back about going to people last year. But we're going to ramp up for 2022 and hope to bring in more corporate sponsors.
Another thought would be to offer a public learning session. We do that, have done that for a long time, that we could take a lot more advantage of, let me say, but we do a half-day focus on an issue that's open to the public. And we have experts from, high-end research down to boots on the ground people to kind of give different perspectives of the same issues. And sponsorships of that, bringing in people who are new or maybe interested in the topic and doesn't know about your group, would be a way to get started. And the other one would be to go into your corporations and ask for a learn and lunch opportunity, and picking out the subgroups that are within the organization. Maybe they're by ethnicity, they're by women, they're by, whatever. And see if you can get some traction there.
That's a great idea.
More ideas, guys, that we want to do in the next couple of sessions.
Well, we are really backward in terms of social media. So any discussion on social media would be better than where we are now. I mean, I'm sure we could learn a ton from other giving circles that are, do a much better job than we do. So I would love to know, how you operate in social media, which platforms you're involved with, and that sort of thing.
We happen to have a video for you.
We could probably use one.
And we've got a lot of resources that are on our website about social media and working with the actual print media. And so I don't know, Nancy, if you can put the link into that. But certainly we can go back over that and do it again. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. It was a really good conversation. And this is
Thank
exactly
you.
what we were hoping, that we just share information and ideas and strengthen everybody. So thank you for being